Howdy, everyone, and welcome to the newest series on the Secular Lefty channel. The first states to vote in the 2026 U.S. congressional primary elections are Arkansas, North Carolina, and Texas. These states will vote on March 3rd. The majority of our current Congress continues to prove they are spineless and unable to meet this moment. While Trump is acting as if our Constitution is null and void, that the rule of law does not apply to him or those he chooses, my message to Trump and his MAGA cult members is this. This is only temporary. Our Constitution and the rule of law is on hiatus. But that will change. This dark period in American history will end. But it only ends if the majority of Americans who aren't in Trump's cult organize to make it end. Yes, Trump may threaten all he likes to cancel the midterm elections or implement martial law. Whatever does happen, for now prepare as if the elections will happen. We must organize to help elect the best candidates going into the 2026 general election. When Trump does attempt various authoritarian election fraud tactics, or if you are arguing elections will not solve our problems quick enough, please hear me out. I understand the concerns, but what is your recommendation? An armed uprising is a guaranteed way to get us all killed very quickly. If we can make a general strike happen across the entire US, I'd be in support of it. That has its own risks and limitations. Putting a pin in those options for now, that brings us to the purpose of this new series. As deadlines close in each state for candidates to file and get on their primary ballot, I have been reviewing the platforms for all candidates in every seat. Some of our fellow Americans have given up on elections, arguing that voting is hopeless and that it can't change the system. If everyone adopts that attitude and accepts defeat before even trying, then yeah, the robber baron capitalists, the imperialists, the fascists, they will all continue to murder and destroy everything with no pushback, no chance at all to stop them. If voting wasn't important, then those in power wouldn't be taking every action possible to keep you from voting. To keep you in constant poverty so you are too tired to organize for better political outcomes. For now, we still have elections. We can still organize and replace every corrupt, spineless member of Congress with someone better. How much better depends on who's available, and if we can give them enough support to win. Of course, winning the primary doesn't guarantee winning the general election. However, the candidates who are willing to fight for the American people, in clear terms, they will be the ones with the best chances of winning in November. In each episode of this series, we will discuss a brief analysis of each state in the U.S. as it regards to the 2026 primary elections. We will discuss how many seats they have available and how their primary process operates for 2026. Since the United States does not have a federal-level framework for elections, it is up to the states to determine how their elections are run. This information and the details regarding voter registration varying from state to state is a contributing factor that increases difficulty for voting and decreases voter participation. After that, we will discuss the Secular Lefty Approved Candidates running in that state. While doing this research, it has confirmed a sad fact. Sometimes there isn't always a great candidate running in every district. But for the seats where there is one, that is where I am dedicating my time to help. I don't have large amounts of money or free time, but for the candidates I do come across who I believe deserve a spotlight, this is the least that I can do for them. The requirements to be a Secular Lefty Approved candidate are the following. They don't need to check all the boxes, but the more the better. I have it broken down into two groups of objectives. The priorities once elected and taking office in 2027, which include impeaching Trump and all others in government guilty of various high crimes, abolishing ICE and supporting indictments and trials for every Gestapo bastard terrorizing our communities. Once all these criminals are removed from government, we then need congressional leaders ready to fight for the policies to address our healthcare and affordability crises plaguing our people for decades. The candidates running should have a campaign website with this information available to make it easy for voters to know where they stand on these important issues. Additionally, all secular lefty approved candidates must refuse super PAC money, corporate money, or money from APAC or any other large money lobby. These candidates must be unbought, so we know that they serve all Americans, not their biggest donors. Voting blue no matter who doesn't work if we replace corrupt politicians with other corrupt politicians collecting money from the same donors. With all that stated, let's get started with our first episode to discuss the elections and secular lefty approved candidates in the state of Arkansas. Arkansas is a state with just a little over 3 million people. At the current moment, it is a heavily Republican controlled state. Their governor is Republican Sarah Huckabee Sanders. My condolences. Their 4 House seats and both Senate seats are currently all held by Republicans. The establishment of the Democratic Party may have abandoned a 50-state strategy, but that is exactly the type of strategy that could save our country from its imminent fascist self-destruction. Before talking about the candidates, let's first discuss how their primary election process works. In Arkansas, state law gives the parties the choice of what type of primary election they have. The information provided from Ballotpedia here tells us that as of September 2025, both major parties have chosen an open primary to be held. What this means is that all registered voters in the state of Arkansas may choose to vote in any party's primary. In closed primaries, this is not the case, where you can only vote in the primary of the party you are registered with. Closed primaries are another method in which voter participation is limited to help the parties increase their control over the candidate selection process. The other point of interest is that Arkansas requires their primary candidates to win a majority of votes, meaning over 50% of the vote is required. If no candidate achieves this, the top 2 vote-earning candidates will move on to a runoff election that is scheduled prior to the general election. If you are an eligible voter in Arkansas, this next bit of information is very important. This is from the National Conference of State Legislatures. If you are not registered to vote, you have 30 days before the election to register. The election is on March 3rd, so be sure to be registered well before the February 2nd deadline, preferably as a Democrat. So just to review here. Arkansas, their primary is on March 3rd. They have an open majority style primary, and if no candidate in a district wins majority, the top 2 vote getters move on to a runoff election, which is scheduled for the end of March on the 31st. Let's now discuss the candidates. Arkansas has 5 seats available, 4 in the House of Representatives and 1 Senate seat. All 5 incumbents are corrupt. They are complicit in fascism, complicit in Israel's genocide, taking AIPAC money, all around Republican scumbags, all worthy of being replaced. But there is an additional reason to not vote for 2 of these incumbents here, regardless of their party. French Hill in the 2nd District and Steve Womack in the 3rd. Both 68 years old. For anyone in Congress approaching 70, or over 70 already, fucking retire. 3 members of Congress dropped dead last year. All Democrats, of course. That really helped the resistance. This year, there has already been 1 to drop dead. At least it was a Republican this time. Doug LaMalfa of California's 1st District, back on January 6th. To be clear, this is not about being ageist or hating old people. Any one of us could die tomorrow for any number of reasons. Death by ice appears to be a rising cause of death in this country. In the process of recording this video, they literally executed another person. But a pin in that for now. The point here about age is the older you get, the probability of dying goes up, and for many, their mental abilities go down. I am not against term limits, but I believe age limits would be a better policy. When you hit 70, you can finish out that term. But after, retire and spend your remaining years with your family. Or don't. I don't really care what you do after, but it's time for you Crypt Keepers to get the fuck out of Congress. Putting my age rant aside, let's look at the primary challengers. For District 1, there is one candidate running unopposed, but didn't meet the secular lefty bar. District 2, in the Senate seat, they both had two candidates who I also found to be non-inspiring and unable to meet the secular lefty approved requirements. When I am reviewing campaign web pages, I want to see strong language in support of impeaching Trump, abolishing ICE, Medicare for all, raising the minimum wage, and ending support to nations committing genocide. All low bar requirements, in my opinion. If the candidate doesn't have at least one, or preferably two, of these policies listed on their campaign page, then in my honest opinion, they are not a serious candidate. Either they are completely ill-prepared for this moment, or they are paid to run for that seat by their donors in the oligarchy. If you run for office but are not willing to clearly state why you're running for office and what you're fighting for, then I will not waste my time or yours talking about them. To be perfectly clear, these videos are not about supporting the Democratic Party, but rather reforming it with better candidates where available. Once the primaries are over, if there is a better independent or a third-party candidate that has a better policy platform as compared to a centrist, liberal, or corporatist Democrat, then vote for the better candidate. Many Americans only vote in the general election, which is only about half of the voting population. If you are someone that complains about lack of good candidates but doesn't vote in the primary elections, the failure to participate in the process is part of the problem. Yes, not being active in politics is a choice, but you also have to understand that that choice has consequences for the rest of us. I understand the Democratic Party has abandoned us for the wealthy donors, resulting in lower favorability rating than the party led by a child-raping fascist. I am not asking you to support the party. Do not donate to the DNC. The DNC can respectably fuck off. While our elections are run at the state level, both political parties have made it difficult and expensive to run outside that system. Think of the party as a vehicle to get the candidates elected. Currently, the Democratic Party has stood for nothing. It is up to us to nominate better candidates who will redefine the Democratic Party by what they fight for. Arkansas has the opportunity to elect two of these candidates this year. In the 3rd District is candidate Robb Ryerse, and in the 4th District, James Russel. Both of these candidates have campaign policy pages, which will be linked below. Both of them support not all the policies I listed earlier, but enough of them that I know these candidates are focused on the right policies and want to improve lives for everyone. For those who live in those districts, I would encourage you to learn more about their campaigns and consider voting for them on March 3rd, and hopefully again in November. Robb is running unopposed, so I'm happy to say one Secular Lefty Approved candidate has already won their primary. Take the wins when you can. James is running against one other person. I hope James will receive the support to run a successful campaign. When doing your own research on congressional candidates, there are some other political groups I hope you will consider. You may have noticed the 6 groups pictured next to Robb and James. While these candidates are not supported by all the groups listed, I have them there to inform you as potential voters. When researching candidates, see if any of them have been endorsed by these groups. Robb, for example, is endorsed by Track APAC. They are a group that supports candidates who don't take APAC money. Similarly, Our Revolution, a group founded after Bernie Sanders' 2016 presidential campaign, is a group supporting candidates that refuse all super PAC money and agree to get money out of politics. Justice Democrats, another group that supports candidates who sign onto their progressive policies, which they list on their website. Citizens Impeachment is a group supporting candidates who, as the name suggests, support impeachment. No Dem Left Behind and Leaders We Deserve, as with these other groups, have also helped me find Secular Lefty Approved candidates that will be given a spotlight in future videos. Links for all these progressive organizations will also be included in the link below. Times are difficult for many of us. working longer hours for minimum wages for dollars that purchase less each day. If we continue to do nothing, things won't improve. If you don't have money, the easiest thing to do to participate is to help candidates you support by spreading their message. Find them on social media and repost their statements, or write your own about them. Just giving these candidates some visibility will help them far more than you know. And we cannot rely on the corporate media to inform us of the candidates who are willing to raise their taxes. Now, I would never ask you to give money to the Democratic Party. They're a shithole organization that wasted $20 million to learn how to talk to men when all they had to do was raise the minimum wage, support Medicare for all, and end support for the genocide going on in Palestine. It should have been simple, but no. Corruption has destroyed the morality and mental clarity of the same people who then turn around and berate you for not voting for them. So if you are in a place that you're able to donate and want to help make a better future for everyone, either find candidates to donate to directly, preferably a Secular Lefty Approved candidate, or donate to one of the 6 groups just discussed on screen here. Or, if you liked today's video, please consider throwing me $1 or $2 over on my Patreon and help support this channel. Final thing to note is, yes, Arkansas is a very deep red state. Many of their districts, when looking through the history on Ballotpedia, will show that winning one of these seats will be no easy task. Previous elections have seen Republicans up by 30 points or so. Yes, it will be difficult. I by no means want to give the impression that these particular elections will be easy, but it is not impossible. We discussed how voter participation is low. Trump continues to lose support for his disastrous actions with each passing day. We could have the combination for victory here. Enough Republicans discouraged from voting because of Trump and his bullshit, and better Democrats who give voters something to vote for. Robb Ryerse and James Russel could be the Democrats to flip those seats blue. We'll see. As stated, Arkansas will be voting on March 3rd, along with North Carolina and Texas. For those other 2 states, I will be having videos on those coming out later this week, and more videos throughout this year for every state's primary election. If you found anything I said in today's video useful, please share the video, give it a like, subscribe, and ring that bell to be notified of my newest videos. Till the next video, consider checking out my other work on this channel. Thanks for listening, and take care.